I think there's a couple of things about my favourite piece of art. I would say my favourite place to see street art would be like the IKEA tunnel over in Fletton, because there's so many different pieces of work there by so many different artists, some really amazing pieces of stuff. I think one of my favourite pieces would probably be the piece by Nate with the two hands, the unity hands. And I think that's because it's got so much meaning to it. So that's probably one of my favourite pieces in Peterborough.
My favourite bit of street art is the Cowgate underpass near the train station, but a particular section with the whale. I've always been obsessed with like underwater creatures since I was a kid, so I love it visually. But I've also recently found out the story behind it, which is mad. So there was a whale that washed up on Hunstanton Beach, and some person took it on a road trip around East Anglia to show this dead whale to different people. And then it ended up at Peterborough and got buried in Peterborough. So that's the story behind it, which is really weird and cool.
It's probably the Keith Flint mural by Nathan Nices and the IKEA underpass, and it's just an incredible piece of work, and it means so much to Nathan as well. But it was around the time when he passed, when Keith Flint passed. Yeah, just the quality of the work and how it went viral as well, and how everyone picked up on it and really enjoyed that piece.
A piece of street art that I'll always remember. We're going back, I'd say late 90s now, maybe 98, 99. In Dogsthorpe Road, there was a piece of graffiti that said West, with another character called Duplo, and it was just like, at the time for me, was like a revolutionary piece of graffiti. Of all the other stuff I'd seen in the city, this piece really stood out, and I took a picture had it developed on film, and then I took that picture into school to talk about, like, you know, this is graffiti, and I want to do this and be cool. And then it's not the most well-known piece, but it was a iconic piece of my history and sort of time from doing graffiti.
My favourite piece of street art in the city is not one piece, but it's actually a location. It's the IKEA underpass, which is a Hall of Fame. It is a safe place. It's a legal place for graffiti and street art to be painted. It's a really long underpass, and it goes under the parkway. So you've got like 4 lanes of traffic that it kind of spans. And it's regularly painted. You have artists from all over the country come and paint there. There's a host to paint jams throughout the year. There's a couple usually in the year where really low-key affairs. People just come along, they paint, have a good time, put some tunes on. But it's it's a friendly space, and it's well looked after. And that's Nathan that you have to thank for having that space in the city. And I think it's just one of those places that it's just so important to have specific, safe, provisioned locations for graffiti, street art to occur.
I like Lee Mason's bit that he did in the Triangle. There's a kind of a building at the Triangle on Lincoln Road that's got vinyls hanging off it, and I think it was a collaborative project with some young people or some students, and it's a sort of a digitised version of Peterborough, but it's really colourful, and I drive past it quite a lot and it cheers me up.
My favourite piece of artwork in the city, street artwork, is at Peterborough Lido, which is one of my favourite places in the city to go to. Love swimming there in the summer. And a series of poets, Keely Mills, CHARLEY, GENEVER, Ross Sutherland, Ron Graves and Toby Woods each wrote a poem about their experiences of swimming at the Lido. And they've been painted onto the walls as pieces of typography in beautiful fonts by Amanda Rigby at Paper Rhino. And I love going in there. So you go into the ladies' changing rooms and there's poetry on the wall there. There's some when you're going into the pool. There's some on the entrance. And it's just a series of words and really lovely expressions about the pool that you can think about when you're swimming up and down as well. It just makes the place even better in my eyes.
My top tip, I think, would be to, yes, you commission that piece of work, but allow the artist to have a certain amount of freedom. so that they could bring some of their own creativity to the piece. Quite often people commission work and they want you to just go along with a brief, but it's really good if you can allow the artist some free space to be creative.
My top tip for somebody wanting to create some street art is trust your artist and believe in them. Pick the person whose style you like and then trust them to deliver that style.
I would really say, like, you have to acknowledge that as a service, it's a professional service, it's a skill. You know, you really need to understand that it's going to take time and it's going to cost money. So you absolutely have to have an idea about what you want to spend, because time after time I go to speak to somebody about some work they want doing, and they say, oh, you know, you tell me how much it will cost. And I say, well, you know, what do you want painting? Like, you know, we can do this or we can do this. Like, how long is a piece of string? If you know what your budget is, I think it's really important that you're clear with the artist up front, because they will paint to that budget. If you have £500 to spend, they can do £500 worth of painting. If you've got a few £1,000s, well, that painting is going to be much bigger, perhaps much better. It's going to spend more time with consulting, with design, with developing the idea. So I would encourage anyone that wants to commission artwork of actually any kind, is to kind of be clear about what you want to invest into that artwork.
A top tip for if you want a mural is know what you want. The worst thing I deal with is someone goes, oh yeah, I want this wall painting. What do you want on it? I don't know. Because then you can't interpret what someone doesn't know, and it's like and like, yeah, having something. So I'd say, yeah, if you want a mural, have an idea, anything, scrap of paper, bit of a magazine, picture off Google, have an idea of what you want. Because we can't understand what you want if you don't know what you want, right?
My top tip would actually be to think about whether you can include words in the piece that you want to create. I think good street art doesn't always just have to be visual. It can have words or more abstract things as well as visual bits. So yeah, I think my suggestion would be think about, do you want words and what could those words be?
My top tip for anyone who's thinking of starting and considering a community mural is to make sure that you've got permission of the space that you're going to paint on, which is always a good start before you even start thinking about creating designs and talking to artists. And my second top tip is, wherever possible, is to involve the residents in the area around in the creation of that design, simply because when we did the Link Road mural, there was a tremendous response from local residents who took real pride in that mural, and we hopefully in doing so we know that it won't get vandalised in the future. And I think in giving people that ownership over a piece of artwork that's in their own neighbourhood, it becomes something that people love and treasure and look after into the future.